Welcome back, everyone. We are going into Neeb versus MaSa, a best of 5 for the first semifinals of the night. Of course, the other semifinals is now determined to be Cham versus
that boy.
Probe. There you go. I saw a rail and I was like, no, wait a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be me and Tempo bringing you the cast for this PVT.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of TVPs. I think
Have we?
me and you, yeah, quite a few. The last one we did was
Okay.
the Tesla one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I
Or
believe
no,
you.
that was Fair Dragon, right? He
Well,
wanted
you
to get Tesla.
cast like a ton, but
I did, yeah.
We did cast a PVT, no?
We did.
Yeah, we're not crazy. Anyways, this one, I think maybe if MaSa was like the tip top of his form and he was like wrecking Purdos's left and right,
Here,
I'd be like,
Right here.
this would be probably like the best match. I wish this would be the finals, but
same here.
yeah, MaSa's like really not feeling great about Purdos, and then he's not at like tip top shape, whereas Neeb never seems to be anything but, like very
Yeah.
rarely. So
Never phased by it either. Like, just looking at him, he's over there. Well, obviously now he's on the main stage, but right beforehand, during that last series, they were kind of goofing off over in the corner, just like playing. I think I don't know if they were laddering or doing like troll games or something like that, but not letting anything really get to him. He's not
Yeah.
like kind of stressing himself out before the matchup. And when you're talking to MaSa, even in the last interview, he was kind of like, he won the game and he's chilling like this, and he's just
It's
like,
this,
well.
actually. It's like-
He knows what his fear or whatever it is with Protoss right now, defeating himself before he gets into the match, and you can't do that against Neeb like ever. So
Yeah.
unless like that's the way to do it, you defeat yourself so bad that like
Well,
somehow.
Fear Dragon does have that theory, which isn't even a theory. It's like it's really a fact. Even MaSa would say that this is true, where the less pressure he puts on himself, the better he ends up doing.
Right.
I feel like you would need to be like super confident, super tip top shape, and have like a really solid plan to face Neeb.
Exactly.
And that's difficult to have everything together in a specific moment. But you were talking about them playing some casual games. I remembered that I was watching Neeb play Zerg.
Yeah.
For many
Apparently
games.
I don't know if it was now or before, but he had like the top Zerg in NA, like MMR.
Yeah, I think he's still top. He's number 1.
He still is now, right?
Yeah, I wonder if he was just keeping that spot by playing.
I don't even. I thought like his Protoss. He used to be a Terran player, and it's like okay, but Zerg as well. Like I don't know.
This is no disrespect to the NA ladder. This is just proving how Neeb is so good. But he
Yeah.
might have been like, I need to challenge the NA ladder.
Yeah, just to be able
Change
to.
races.
That's insane to me. Some people usually have like pretty decent off races, but somebody told that to me today, and I was just like, no way, really? And
Well, it has been a fairly common thing to bring up about some of the best we've ever had. You know,
Yes.
MVP was good with all races.
Day 9.
A couple of the Brood War legends also would always practice. I mean, Savior's, the other, like, that shall not be named, but he was really good as Terran, and that's why
Right.
ZVT was so good. Certainly we have Neeb practices a lot of Zerg. Maybe his PVZ is getting better.
It's getting
'Cause
a lot better,
I
yeah.
think that was the one matchup he was a little uncertain about. PVT is going in favor of Protoss. Like, I think
Yep.
everyone kind of agrees on that one. PvP has always been his jam since, like, Kespa Cup.
Yep. That's basically on the back
So
of that.
does leave PVZ, and I know a lot of Protosses are kind of. There seems to be a consensus. Maybe there's not quote unquote imbalance, but there is
some kind of
There literally
They
is. I'm
feel
pretty
some
sure.
type of way, I guess.
But yeah,
It's
but that at the very least, it is like, do you win with the all in for the Zerg, or do you hold out as
hold
the
out.
Protoss?
I mean,
Yeah.
Neeb always has been somebody who has really good late game ZVP in general, or PVZ, sorry. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like, yeah, the balance shifts out. The meta switches out too, and then of course
Sure.
like patches and whatnot. But like, I don't know. There was a point in time where ZVP was like the match for him, wasn't it? Like PVZ was.
There probably was. I remember being
You
quite
know?
confident in his
Yeah,
PVZ.
very. And it's kind of shifted now, but
Sure, yeah. But we don't have to talk about that matchup yet,
No.
maybe for the finals.
Yep.
But he is going to be going into a PVT, which I feel like there was a time when that was his jam as well, his
Yeah.
number 1. And then I also feel there was a time when it was his worst. So, I mean, this guy's been...
it's just like up and down. But
well, he's been at the top of everyone's mind when you think about a foreigner player for years at this point. So,
Right.
of course, he would have a lot of different moments. But we are into game. It is a best of 5. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, he is MaSa.
Souped whoop. And in the top left corner of Abyssal Reef, it is the blue Protoss player from Ting, Neeb.
Yep.
All right, so this game could dictate the series as well. I do feel like, you know, however it goes, whether it's going to be MaSa setting things off with something crazy or not, or even Neeb, you know, being like, okay, I know that I'm already in his head. I'm sure that Alex is pretty aware of that. He could do something kind of cheeky as well if he does feel like he has the upper hand in the whole series, but
Sure,
I
yeah.
honestly feel like he's just going to take it slow and be like, all right, what are you going to hit me with, MaSa?
Yeah.
Somebody who's very aggressive most of the time.
I have no doubt that Neeb knows that MaSa has unfavorable opinions about this matchup, but I've never contributed Neeb to be that type of person to be like, yeah, I was in his head, like that's why I won.
That's why I won, right?
Like, if anything, Neeb's always like, you know, my build is like pretty good. And, like,
and he'll always say like,
cannons.
it's okay. I could have done it a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, but it certainly does feel like he has the right calls at magical moments that does seem to be like, well, did he actually know that MaSa was going to do that exact thing on this
Right.
exact map? So yeah, maybe there will be some of that. But MaSa's not starting things off too aggressively. Certainly a two-base all-in can still occur, especially on Abyssal Reef with tanks.
Yep.
But I feel like, I mean, tank pushes can be okay, and some people even think they're like the only way
Yeah,
to win.
I've
But
seen it.
in my opinion, I feel like I see them fail more often with these tip-top Protosses.
Oh,
So
when it
I'm
comes
not
down
really
to
that
it?
confident about it.
Oh, missed a little bit here. There was a gas steal inside of the main. MaSa did this in his last series, I believe, against Tesla. So, you know, he's just like, look, as long as I can stop you from getting any type of tech, or at least delay it for as long as possible, then, you know, I feel like I'll be in a pretty good spot. The last time he actually canceled it relatively early compared to, you know, needing to, just to get those resources in order to get his command center up. But he's actually keeping it up there pretty much the whole time. So.
Yeah. I do imagine this is really just annoying. I don't know the exact timings, but you can, of course, get a natural gas
Yes.
to kind of at least bridge somewhat of that gap. You don't want to spend time with probes killing the gas geyser. It is going to be a difference maker of maybe your warp gate starts a little later. Or
Right.
I think if the militia core still existed, that would definitely throw
Oh,
off
yeah.
something.
Uh-huh.
But now that it doesn't, it's not as gas intensive early on as it could have been. But he did take the natural gas as soon as he
preparing
realized.
for that already, yeah.
Yep.
And he's already mining from it too, so his Nexus was like in a good time that the gas steal isn't really going to affect him that much. But you know, for MaSa, what is he actually going to be setting up here for his opener? Dual racks here actually.
Well, yeah,
before
3cc.
factory. Yep. So very, very different style out of MaSa. I like that he's going for it though. You know, trying to start things off with a bang. Ooh, I would even said bang as the Reaper's KD8 charge went off, but. Yeah, I love it. Going here for this very economic opener. And, yeah, if Neeb decides to go for some kind of a conservative play, then this is definitely what he needs to do. MaSa getting this economic advantage. He might even be able to get a probe here, but Neeb getting it away is able to take out that Reaper with the Stalker.
Finally.
So, yeah.
Took a while. Now, we did see Neeb take on Epic, was it?
Yes.
Who, when he went for a 3cc, he just went for a Resonant Glaives all-in and ended up being pretty perfectly timed out.
Yep.
I'm not sure he's getting as much scouting this game. You know, really, some things to scout this without literally scouting the third CC would definitely be seeing the gas geyser, but that's just as unlikely as seeing the third CC.
Yep.
Or the second production facility timing. So if it's a factory, if it's a barracks, whatever, like you can get the adept up in there and still kind of see what's going on, but usually you are limited until you get that observer.
Yeah, which
so-
he's going to get now, but by the time he even gets it over on the other side of the map, it's gonna, I mean, Neeb is probably already going to be committed to what it is that he wants to do. And just the fact that in that last series when he decided to go for that adept timing, I feel like it was a point in the series where it was time to do the adept timing, right? Where it's like, all right, I've won the first two games in a kind of way. He's going to feel some kind of way that he's in desperation mode and he hasn't done this many economic openers, but hit him with the adept. You know, you throw it in there and it either works really quickly or it fails really quickly, and it's like, whatever, if you end it, we'll go to the next game and I'll get him. But
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see an all-in come out from Neeb.
yeah,
But it
I think
was-
to epic surprise as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah. So he sees the third CC this time, you know, and that's going to tell him pretty much the exact timing of the drop as well. I mean, the first two medevacs pop out, and it is kind of just Terran's burden to do something with them, even if they never get to do very much.
it's like a gift and a curse. It's like, all right, here are the medevacs, and now you better do something with them.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, can I really? Because, you know, Neeb, he's going to take all these cut corners up until the exact moment he knows there's going to be a push. That's why those Terran pre-medevac pushes are sometimes such a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Is that they really do time it by, like, when's the starport going to be swapping over. So, but that doesn't look to be MaSa's plan. Of course, he wants to have that third CC set up and defended, even as he waits for those medevacs. So he is taking that now, and I'm glad, because there's also that potential that he hadn't gotten a scout on Neeb, that
Right.
MaSa would have waited and waited and waited for actually moving a third CC, third CC over, but it's pretty well timed.
All right, so yeah, very, very early robo from, well, I mean, not early, but like that was going to be the tech choice here for Neeb. And like you were saying, yeah, setting everything up now, right? Like double upgrade. Like how much is he actually investing into things that are going to kick in a bit time? You know, it's not like
A lot, yeah.
really all at the same time to get extended thermal lance, +1/+1, third base, as well as the Colossus production.
Right, and that third base, like, you know, sometimes you see people open up Colossus, which is like less of what people do in PvT, but still definitely exists, and they'll get later thirds than he just did. You know, that was a 430 third, and that was okay. So for him to take the appropriate cut there and then go for the double forge instead of just a single one like that, it's all going to work out well for him. His weakness for sure is defense against drops because he doesn't have Blink, he doesn't have Phoenix.
Anything to do with Medifacts, really.
But since it is just going to be 3 bases for a little while longer, he could probably just try and predict, honestly. Like 2 Medivacs get 10 seconds, that's not too bad. If they get 40 seconds, well then that's when he
it's a little bit,
up.
yeah, almost 4 times as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the reaction here because even though he was setting up for it, I think he just had the game sense to at least feel that kind of way. Because he didn't get the observer in there until, like, you know, the third base was getting ready to float out. And it's the right call to be able to go for all these upgrades already starting +2/+2. MaSa has been a little bit cutting, he's been cutting his upgrades, you know, at least in the past series that he's been going for. I feel like we've been looking at his upgrades and they've been kind of lacking a bit. So if Neeb is going to be getting up to 3-3 by the time that he takes his fourth, this could be a very, very scary position here. But
so this is actually a nicely sized push for MaSa. Up 30 supply, the force fields will have to be decent. And I think MaSa might even predict that and not do a push, but he definitely wants to stop that 4th CC or 4th Nexus from going down too quickly.
He's got to pressure it a little bit.
I'm looking at this Ghost Academy and I'm just whoopsie-daisy.
Oh my god. That's not a halluc.
No, it was not. That was definitely a mistake. I don't know if he... I'm actually not sure. I thought that was a rallied Colossus, but that was his second Colossus.
It actually was, yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake then. But he still bullies MaSa back because MaSa doesn't have any Colossus tech to deal with that. He was just hoping for a concave. But as I was talking about, before that wonky Colossus, yeah, the Ghost Academy with a super fast nuke. I guess that's what he did with your series.
He did it as well, yeah. And I didn't know if it was a thing that he's been experimenting with, or if it's map specific too, because you know a lot of these bases that you're going to be pushing are going to be in a tight space. So I guess you know it's nice to be able to at least get that leeway. You can cancel it at any time if you really want to, but it forces the Protoss to reposition unless they do have the observer right above you.
Yeah, I feel like getting that fast of a Ghost Academy like should make you a little bit vulnerable at some point if they didn't go for like charge out Archon Stalker, but in this case it absolutely didn't. He's actually been in control for some time. Neeb just took what he saw as a 3CC and said, okay, I'll match you on macro.
Yep.
And so Neeb is just going up against Ghost. He is also going up against double Starport Viking.
Yeah, he's making 4 Vikings at a time. Something that we didn't really see. Oh, that was actually a pretty good EMP right on the middle of that army. A lot of the Stalkers do not have any shield left over. But MaSa is trying not to get too invested in this attack, but it looks like Neeb is feeling confident to blink on top of that army.
So yeah, that was a pretty good fight.
Oh, he's still going with it though.
He should. That army would have to sim again, and that would be terrible.
That would be awful.
The Colossus would absolutely wreck it. So I mean, MaSa should really be thanking whoever here now that he's not being found out. But the Vikings finally come in, and that's what I was really wondering about that push. I suppose he thought Neeb would be scared and wouldn't have dove like that.
Exactly, but that was almost immediately. Yeah, I actually thought that it was going to be a little bit more timid engagement, but MaSa was surprised by it, and he ended up falling back. He was even scanning to see where the army was because he was that scared. But here comes a really nice attack into the natural of Neeb. Finally taking a bit of damage, and this is actually not bad at all, I would say.
He's getting exactly what he was hoping for,
I
imagine.
The Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings, the Colossus go forward, they outpace the Stalkers with their cliff-walking ability, and they just run into the Vikings, which is every Terran's dream. So they do go down, but the rest of the gateway unit still took on the rest of the bio.
They did, yeah. These superior upgrades definitely coming into play. If he can get these medevacs out of here, that would be great, but I believe he just used the boost.
There you go. Yeah.
Medevacs can blink. I don't know.
Oh, that's a lot of zealots coming in here. I didn't even notice that on the mini-map, and neither did MaSa. But he already had a couple reinforcements because he was re-rallying anyways, so this was not too big of a deal. They even get choked in.
Yeah.
But this is giving Neeb the open opportunity at the front of the base.
He is. He's going to be able to get his Stalkers in position, pick off a few of the SCVs, but have they at least overstepped their boundaries here. I think the losing of those 2 Colossi makes it so that Neeb can't just push for the win here. Because
Nah.
usually when you do a double drop like that, or even like any kind of engagement where you're trying to trade tech and economy for your army, the Protoss army comes back with, you know, like 3 or 4 Colossi, and you get stuck because you just don't have the numbers there, you know? But I feel like the Vikings really did their job there, and, you know, it lets them fight to, or live to fight another day.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, including that one Colossus that just ran off and
Oh,
died.
yeah, in addition to that.
Yeah, and, you know, some consistent pressure. Not totally consistent, but still some consistent pressure from MaSa. Neeb didn't really transfer as fast as I thought he would in a Storm.
Exactly,
And that was another
yeah.
reason he really couldn't continue pushing. So he's finally getting that, and also finally running out his upgrade, so he is on 3-3 to just 1-1.
There's a nuke going on at all of this. I believe it's at the 3rd base of Neeb, but an engagement is going down with really good storms on top of the bio. Oh, he tried to get the EMP. Watch out for the nuke, though, at the 3rd. It's going to go down, but Neeb does realize that. Not going to lose any probes there. Just a little bit of damage on that assimilator.
Yeah, and MaSa took an absolutely terrible fight.
He did.
I think, again, not realizing that Neeb was going to push into him like that.
Yep, and it's time and time again that it keeps happening. Another storm on top of everything, even the Medivacs. And this might be all she wrote as Neeb storms on forward and takes game number 1. Literally, yeah.
GG. Well, that was not the cleanest game. That was still a very smart game from Neeb. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say so.
I feel like it was a little bit weirder for him. Well, that one miss rally with the Colossus again is like very
He wants
un-Neeb.
to erase that. Like.
Yeah, erase it from his memory. That was so weird. But otherwise, whatever made that weird was, I believe, the cause of MaSa. MaSa didn't just go for a 3CC, which is a bit of a rarity, but also went for super fast ghosts.
Yeah, he's been doing that a lot, though. Like, at least in the TVPs that I've been seeing him play. Remember, we were kind of not calling him up, or at least noting and saying, you know, he kind of needs to deal with these now, the Colossi as they're coming out. And then he would almost not make that many Liberators. He would invest into the Ghost, do some of this kind of weird nuke play for positional stuff. But that game, he actually did the same Ghost style, but he ended up making Vikings 4 at a time.
Yeah.
You know, was able to get them out. He made great use of them, too. I was like, oh, my God, this is, like, perfect for MaSa. But the engagement, the nuke, you know, maybe he was a little overzealous with it and was like, yeah, this is going to be so sick. I'm going to be on, you know, what is the highlight? SC2 highlights.
SC2 highlights.
If anything comes from this series, I need to get on SC2 highlights. But losing game number 1, I feel like is going to be a really, really big thing in MaSa's head where it's like, well, just what I'm proving myself right now, you know?
Maybe he just proxies the next game. I would not be surprised at all if he tries that next.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's probably something Neeb would also be expecting. So
Right.
it's like, well, he expects that I expect that I like.
So is
exactly.
it going to be a sick meta game here? Like,
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
going to get, you know,
I'm not
win
sure.
over?
But if MaSa, the thing is though, I wouldn't mind if MaSa did the exact same thing he did, as long as he does survive that Colossus.
Yep.
Like, I see Ghost against Colossus, and I'm like, well, that just doesn't add up. But apparently it does, and he gets to the late game. He gets to double, quadruple Viking production.
Right.
It was the engagements at the exact wrong times that killed him.
Exactly, right? So that was...
And those were all forced by him too.
Yeah,
he was the one that was
he's the one that
engaging into
he
Neeb.
initiated it, and then it was like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. You know,
I think a similar style, but he's more defensive and is like, you come to me while I'm getting all this. Then that might go better. But we will be seeing what's up on Catalyst.
Hey.
Yep, in the top left, down a game, it is the Red Terran MaSa.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, up by 1 from Ting. Give it up for Neeb. Neeblet. A lot of support. A beautiful crowd we have out there, you know. Definitely coming out for this series. They've actually been very, very supportive. Even during the last series on Probe and Rail, I think a lot of people were surprised. Just the fact that Probe was able to overcome it. You know, from the last series that they had, it almost felt like this whole tournament has been... I would say that's the story of this whole tournament. People losing the first series that they play, and then coming back when they have the rematch.
Oh, there was a lot of
those that kept happening. Yeah,
there was indeed. Well, Neeb is doing the exact same thing he did against Epic, with the forward pylon and the forward gateway on Catalyst, and even in the same exact spawn position. So
the fact that it is,
God forbid MaSa go for that 3CC, because if Neeb really is just going to go into an Adept all-in, I mean, first of all, if only MaSa had seen the game. That's pretty cheeky of Neeb to do.
Yeah.
And then second of all, it would work well against a 3CC because, you know, Epic even knew something was up. He was trying to build bunkers. He was trying to get his production going, and
he just didn't have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll find out if he decides. I mean, Neeb could even be in some kind of mindset where he's like, okay, I'm just going to do this build per map. Like, I don't care who I'm playing. Oh, so it's Catalyst. Okay, I guess it's a dub time. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. He can be a very, how to say, not methodical, but like he writes down the first mistake of every game so he doesn't do it again. So
Right.
I feel like he would be the type of guy who was like, you know, as an experiment, I'll do the same thing on the same map and see if I can recover in different situations.
Right.
I don't know if you do that during a tournament, but Neeb could. He's pretty
He
good.
could. He's good enough to. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, we'll see, right? I think
Right.
in that, like I was saying, the last time it just happened to be at that stage of the series itself. But honestly, if MaSa goes for another 3cc, then it's a possibility.
Yeah, he's not, though. He threw down
No,
a second
no.
barracks.
Yeah.
It's a 2-on-1, in fact. Kind of midway on the bio production and the medevac timing. Right? He's like still putting that third CC. Yeah, okay.
I swear,
Oh,
yeah.
it's
I
like,
got.
wait a minute, my timing.
I went back to it, yeah, just to see.
Okay, yeah. So it is 2-on-1. This is something that. But the thing is, like, even if Neeb is not going up against a 3cc, which is the greatest thing you can do, if he's
Yeah.
going up against a 1-1-1, a 2-1-1, a 3 racks, like, you can still make an all-in work, especially if it's not going to be scouted.
Right. That's the main surprise factor that he could go for, especially after such a passive game last game.
Oh.
So let's see where. Whoa, is he going for a really early Dark Shrine?
Yeah, really the Dark Shrine.
Where is he?
And then on equal O moments, MaSa didn't go for Stim. He went for the swap onto tank production.
Uh-huh. Okay, so 2-1-1 without that stim. I thought, yeah, well, just making a bunch of Marines, I guess, Marine tank without the stim, because there's not even a tech lab on any barracks, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he decided to go for a tech lab on the other one when he switched it for a tank to maybe go for some kind of timing where he has a certain amount of tanks, but I'm a little bit confused, I would say, as to what it is that he wants to do with it. Is he just going to go for a kind of slow push without stim where he just pushes on in, sieging up this natural base here?
Additional supply depots.
I mean, it is something you can do, usually off the back of a 1-1-1, though.
Yeah.
You swap everything over, and you're still getting Stim, even as you plan a push.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was gonna wonder, like, is he even gonna get a
drops on another
start
factory,
for?
yeah. What if he just
He
goes?
goes in a mech after this.
I mean, I don't know. He
about that.
could.
I was maybe wondering, like, maybe you can afford a third CC faster. Certainly there are factory expands, and then there's also factory third bases, I suppose. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I am looking at this and wondering what the intent of this build is.
Yeah,
Is
the
it
lack of
super
stim and then
safe,
the
or-
delaying of the starport at the same time.
Yeah, two things are usually pretty integral to this matchup. But regardless of what it will be, right
Ooh.
now it is all at home. And if he has this game ready to go, well, as I say that, he pushes out,
Okay.
so it's not all at home.
Uh-oh. Well, MaSa is pushing out, as you said. The DTs are going in. The mule has just dropped, actually. And I don't think there's any energy on the main mineral line.
That is very unfortunate. He raises the depots to at least make it so a scan is more effective than the natural. His production is still safe, but this is a lot of chaos, and it's also quite effective against tank pushers because you can just warp in one DT at a time.
Yes.
But because of the timing, Neeb doesn't get that opportunity and doesn't have any DTs warping into Sieja to take free shots of the army. They are just over here in the main and the natural. And Neeb's going to lose some of his production.
Yep, I love this turret. We saw this in the last series, making sure that he puts up that turret. Instead of having to worry about using a scan every time, because Neeb could duck out of that. That pylon was powering quite a few buildings right there, including the shield battery. And the DT tried to kill the SCV that was building the turret, but it does end up getting put up.
So we talked a lot about what Neeb did versus Epic, but we didn't talk about what MaSa did versus, oh man, who was it?
Tesla.
Tesla, exactly. It wasn't on this map in these
It
positions.
was. I was gonna.
Like,
Which is what I'm thinking. It's like, is this a repeat?
what is happening? But it's a very similar situation. The DTs aren't coming in fast enough to stop the missile turret siege hop, but Neeb isn't losing his natural, I think, as fast as Tesla was. So,
Yeah.
but his Robo's here, and Tesla's like, oh, there's so many differences and so many similarities.
What do I do here? Well, if you even look at the worker count, it is 44 to 27. Neeb does have the third base as well. So even if he does lose his Nexus, he is going to have the production. But I'm just a little bit afraid as to, is Neeb going to be able to break out of this here? You know, I think he had like 3 gateways inside of his main.
Yeah, but he also had to like rebuild that cybernetics core because the wall off at the front was very different too. He is trying to send one DT forward at a time, but with the missile turrets now siege dropping, it's going to be very difficult. They didn't end up breaking into the main base, so the damage to MaSa was really quite contained.
It was, right?
I feel like Neeb does lose this game. There's still a couple more minutes left, but now that the third base has been found out, that's also a
That's
bad
going to go
sign.
down. I thought that was going to be at least the saving grace of it all. It's like, okay, yeah, that was my fake base, but If that gets taken out here, then we're looking at Neeb, who has, yeah, a higher supply, but remember, it is mostly in workers, and he doesn't even have another base to mine from, so they're kind of dead weight at this point. Don't let that fool you. He doesn't have that upgrade lead like he used to. Now, here we go with the bunker here. That is going to assist here in the defense of this bunker.
I think Neeb just has to tap out. I mean,
I don't believe he can actually win here, right? Like, straight up.
there's nothing else he has. There's no War Prism trying to micro these. There's no Immortal about to pop out. Neeb might just be in this for stubbornness, because as I said, I didn't get to the main base, so it's not like he thinks there's only 2 SCVs or something extreme like that. MaSa is now comfortably advancing his tech, and he's going to pull the probes for a last-ditch effort.
You have to do this here. I mean, they're basically dead weight, and he catches during a siege up. So if Neeb is able to target down these tanks, this might actually work. Oh my god, the fact that he pulled the probes, I think it might.
But, you know, even if this does break it, and I didn't expect that,
At what cost?
Neeb still finds himself down in probes and on 1 Nexus.
Exactly. That's the story here. And he's going to try to push across the map, but MaSa, he has been producing. That wasn't like his full army, right? So the fact that he has been producing back at home, he doesn't have a bunker, and I feel like that would be the safest bet. At least get the bunker up so that you just absolutely make sure that this next follow-up push is going to do nothing.
Well, I think he realizes Neeb doesn't have Blink. It got so chaotic after the DTs that there wasn't really time to fit that in. So without, okay, he actually just taps out right then and there.
Oh, puts one on the board, MaSa. Wow, very, very weird play out of Neeb as well with the DT opener. But the fact that it did so much damage, I was like, okay. I guess, anytime Neeb does something, it actually works out. But MaSa had a really good response. And I guess, that game against Tesla, it was like, okay, this might be a good idea to get this turret up immediately.
It was a good warm-up for that
It was, right?
game. Yeah. The thing is, it's so unlikely, I feel. As you said, going for DT is a bit odd for Neeb. It's so unlikely for him to do that as opposed to like an Adept all-in or a Blink Stalker pressure or a fast third Nexus.
It tends to be a little bit more like straightforward. DTs can make things go awry and weird and just like it sets a weird tone for the game, right?
It does,
because it's like it's either going to do a ton of damage or either get shut down, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like Neeb usually likes to play that way.
Exactly, yeah.
So it was awfully coincidental for Maru. MaSa, actually, I was correct with both
Maru
of those.
Kim.
For MaSa.
The one true Maru, as Undersword would always say.
But Neeb, I feel like I've seen this guy, right, in the past, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he would lose a game and it would get him, like, messed up in his brain. But what happened over the past year was that he turned from the guy that was like, well, I guess I'm, like, not very good and I'm just going to lose anyways, to, that was dumb, let me fix this. And then he, like, smacks him in the next game with, like, an all-in or just, like, really, really solid macro. And you're like, oh, okay, that's Neeb acknowledging that he kind of did a silly thing and
it was pretty silly in a way, but he's like, okay, I guess I can't get away with everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's experimenting where he's just like, I'm gonna try this and try that, and it worked to an extent, right? Like, you have to be real that it ended up working to an extent, hit at the right time. But it's just the fact that when you do stuff like that, you really do at least sacrifice the army that you're gonna have to defend something like what MaSa did, or you expect him to go home, but nope. MaSa kept on, keeping on, I would say. And here he is in the bottom right-hand corner representing OSC Elite. It is MaSa.
And in the top left, as the blue Protoss give it up for Ting Neeb.
Got a little favorite, but I think MaSa here, I really feel like him being the underdog in the sense that we were talking to him and like the fact that he thinks that he's the underdog, it would be really cool to see him at least take this game and actually put Neeb under pressure, because I feel like Neeb has been in this kind of chill zone basically the whole tournament. And if he has to at least be in a 2-1 deficit, that's going to be I think that's the first time in the whole tournament that it would be the case.
He's already failed himself, Tempo.
Yeah.
He lost a single map.
What is he thinking, man?
I don't know.
I think he's losing it, man.
I don't know. I'm really worried for next weekend, man. Germany ain't gonna go so well.
Yeah, hiding those builds, I don't know. He's like, oh, crap, maybe I will have to use my real builds.
It does happen, and if his goal really was not to lose a single map, if it's gonna happen when you play a little differently, when you do those dark shrines, which he doesn't seem to enjoy so much, not on 2 bases anyways. Of course, every Protoss eventually gets a dark shrine.
It's inevitable.
It is, it really is. So, how does this happen? So that also wasn't just the build order conflicts, that was also the map. If this is that same game happens with Ascension to Ire, there's a possibility that the DTs are warped in fast enough defensively that they find the army halfway across the map.
Exactly, yeah.
But there is literally no time on Catalyst.
No,
the first
it's so
DTs are warped
fast.
in, they went to the natural, and then MaSa was already halfway through the map, and Neeb had no time really to try and
He
do
really
that.
didn't, yeah.
And
Even though
so-
things were going his way as far as the orbital timing with the energy and whatnot, you know that MaSa didn't even have an engineering bay when those DTs hit. He actually built the engineering bay in the natural, and then his first turret that he made, I think, was on the other side of the map.
Yeah, that's why it was so important that he's able to save the main base.
Yeah.
Once that, if you don't expect DTs and they get in both bases, that is kind of like the point where you screwed up, and you're going to take a lot of damage. So
Yep.
that was a cool head right there that
Yeah.
won that game.
But I guess this is another game, you know. Always can't get caught up in the past, of course. But MaSa going here for a quicker factory than he did last time. We are seeing a lot quicker tech for sure. That command center was delayed a bit as far as his normal other timings, I would say.
So it's kind of oh no, it's a bit of a one of my drops. So I was gonna go in and talk about Hellions.
Okay.
But that's not even happening right here. I guess it could. I wonder if you could go into like a Widowmine drop with 4 Hellions in the natural. You would give away your entire army and probably die to a counterattack, but that's where you take the chance and hope a tank comes out in time. that has been a lot of PvTs, especially when 4.0 first came out.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I can kill the probes, I just can't kill the
But
stalkers.
then I die, yeah.
Yeah.
Stalker comes on over, and it just snowballs out of control. And I wonder, I mean, honestly, it depends, of course, on the success of this Widowmine drop. And someone like MaSa, you know, he's actually really good with it. He was showing really sick control with the Widowmines and a lot of patience as well. So, like, he wouldn't let them go off when they weren't going to get the kills that he wanted. And he would actually get them out of there, despite the fact that they are vulnerable
Yeah, he
after
would.
they go off.
He would always try and pick up the Widowmines.
Every time, yeah.
Yeah, instead of just like get out of dodge with the Medivacs. And that would work especially well against someone who didn't have Blink, but this game Neeb does go
It's
for
going
the
right
fast
into it.
Blink, yeah.
Yep.
And this was nothing but Widowmines, by the way, so quadruple Widowmines in a drop, followed by 2 more that could even sneak to the 3rd or the natural. Like, he's going for so many
He's
Widowmines.
really rolling the dice right here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would say this is a big gamble to go for it, and perhaps that's what he feels like. Yeah. But with this control that he was, I mean, honestly, Neeb is a really good defender when it comes down to control, especially if it is going to be a Widowmine drop. He's really good at splitting off his probes, but I mean, all it takes is 1 usually in order to get you to that point. 43 to 33 workers means that Neeb does have a few workers that he could lose without it being GG, but you know, I feel like this needs to do something for MaSa, because if he doesn't, he's just so far behind, especially in the economy.
Yeah.
And would need to hope that his follow-up push could do
He'd be-
significant damage.
He'd be so far behind in the army once,
Yeah.
if you know, once this dies, I guess, because the Widowmines are almost guaranteed to.
Yep, yeah.
That's
If
why he
gets
has to
the
put on
medevac.
the tank.
Yeah.
This is going to be a bit of a double whammy, though. The first 4 Widowmines will be a shock for Neeb, and then he'll think, okay, that was weird. And then the second set of 4 Widowmines,
The fact
I'm
that
gonna be
he's-
like,
yeah.
what? Okay. It's not that it's never happened before. It just doesn't happen very often. So I feel Neeb should be still kind of surprised by that. Stalkers show themselves at the front, which actually I feel gives MaSa the maybe go ahead to be like, well, there can't be that many in the main then.
Right.
But he holds off on that. This medevac, maybe not expecting a 3rd with probes so quickly, doesn't drop anything over there.
All right, the moment of truth. 4 Widowmines do burrow in the main. Neeb gets all of his probes on out of there. Stalker going to be able to take one for the team, but now with the natural. Oh my God! 20 workers go down.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, look at his face. He's like, what is that? Why would you do that?
They never expect it. That was insane.
That's so much damage, but like 20 probes is amazing. That's kind
yeah,
of perfect.
that is beautiful.
I feel like they're still not going to be that strong of a follow-up for MaSa. You know, he still has to traverse a very large map with some slow units with those tanks, and he wouldn't have stim for some time as well.
Yeah.
So Neeb getting like the tiniest bit of revenge
With the
his-
Stalker,
the
yeah.
Stalkers
The 3
here.
Stalker hit squad.
Actually, it's getting its a bit more. I mean, I
7.
talked about the slow army, but I meant across the map, not in its own base. 8 SCVs go down and a couple of Marines.
Yeah, they're still going
Okay.
in. There's nothing in the bunker here. This Stalker might even get out.
Yes, it will. That was a sneaky stalker.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing in these medevacs. But, so.
And then poke at the medevacs. That would be the ultra efficient
yeah,
stalker.
right? It's just like, what?
Yeah. All right, so
Oh,
Neeb,
Stalker, you.
very surprised. It's like, what the heck?
Like, who does that?
Still has more probes, but of course that's with Mule's account, it's actually pretty similar, but it is still similar, whereas maybe in another world it was just be him tapping out immediately. And he is going into charge with a lot of gateways, and well, you know, I'm pretty sure he's expecting a follow-up tank push.
Yeah.
If anything does happen, it's going to be with those tanks. Charge are going to do really well against him. So
Amazingly, yeah.
I really want to be hype about the 20 probes, but
But-
I've certainly seen enough PvTs where probes die and the Terran still loses the army fight.
Right. I think those 3 Stalkers, yeah, they got a lot of economic damage done, but they also were a good scout. You know, I think the Observer was there to see the drops moving out, but he wasn't really scouting the army at that point in time. And now being able to go ahead.
Whoops a daisy.
My bad. Oh.
Oh, we got some too over here.
I know, right? Wow, the timing.
All right. Luckily, the attack wasn't on the way. Neeb is doing a fantastic job just buying time. Alrighty then.
Well, either way, yeah, still going on with tanks are moving out. We got you guys.
It's still the same thing happening, but hopefully it doesn't happen when the actual fight goes down. Neeb is setting up for perhaps a surround. No, he decides not to. Just setting up for a concave. Charge isn't done, but 1-1 is, so at least has that upgrade lead. He's going to be down going through a choke, but the Immortal is able to contact the tanks.
Oh my god, and he takes it out immediately. Gets absolutely swallowed by this Protoss army. MaSa gets obliterated here. And wow. That was pretty one-sided there. I mean, did they even do any damage? I don't even know. Like
they took out a lot of Stalkers, but
okay.
I don't think so. And then, oh no, the reinforcements probably getting caught. If there were Stalkers still alive, they would have been caught. But the Charge Lots can't get up into the high ground. This ends up being more awkward for Neeb.
Yeah.
But this is the second time we've seen MaSa just get his tanks in position against the Immortals, and it's like I feel like it's pretty unlucky. Well, that time I think Neeb planned it, but the last time it was a bit unlucky.
Yeah, the Immortal just, there's a tank here, you know? I'm pretty good against those.
Yeah. So whatever, I feel like that really did negate whatever lead MaSa just had with those probes. Now he's kind of desperately just continuing the 2 base all in.
He did not go for the 3rd base exactly, right? I don't even know if he opted to go for his... Okay, he's getting his +1 armor, so that's pretty good. Yeah. But Neeb is getting a 4th base. After that cleanup, he's like, oh, okay, let's take a 4th base. My opponent is not even taking a 3rd. I'm going to be better in upgrades when this 2-2 finishes. And I just feel like that needed to go a lot better there for MaSa.
Yeah, it absolutely did. The 2-2 is going to be such an extreme advantage, and now that he has his Stalker count back up too, like it's really helpful for these Stalkers nowadays.
Yeah.
+4 to armored.
The way that they get, a better scaling for
there
it.
You go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Teamwork. Yeah. So that's pretty important, and it's going to finish up here before the second attack happens.
Well, at least he's adding some Liberators here, but there are those Stalkers you were talking about. Even going to be able to... I literally was like...
No on the Liberators. That was really bold of MaSa, though. That was basically hoping that Neeb was out of position.
Exactly.
Or maybe it was him being distracted. Either one.
But I think, yeah, with the Charge Lots pushing on in, 2-2 did complete. He's going to just blink on top of this army. That bunker did not stand a chance in hell to get finished. And GG is going to be called. Neeb takes game number 3.
Yeah. Not quite the slapdown after losing that second game, but he did handicap or have a handicap with 20 probes and still
was
dominant.
able to, like, how do you...
So that's okay, too.
You know, and the fact that it was still a 2-base all-in and you still survived the follow-up push like that is kind of... It's just surreal when you think about it.
Yeah. But that goes back to why I feel like tanks are really actually kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I really do feel like I'm the only person who thinks that. You know, I hear like other Protoss be like, no, those tank pushes are really hard to deal with, or other Terrans being like, no, I get like pretty good success with them, and I'm like, okay. But like when I watch Neeb deal with them, it just doesn't seem to matter very much.
It just seems like they're not even, okay.
Of course,
might as well be a Widow Miner. Might as well be even like anything else at that point in time. It's
I was gonna say maybe if it was Innovation doing a tank push, but even Innovation in GSL, I don't think they'd been very many. I think it was bio pushes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of glossed over those.
I know.
Games,
yeah, I missed a couple of them too. I did miss this weekend's. Unfortunately, I totally forgot.
There was no way I was gonna watch that.
Yeah. How? Yeah. I mean. Literally, we don't sleep this weekend, guys. You know, we watch GSL, cast Cheeseadelphia before it, wake up, cast Cheeseadelphia right after.
But apparently MaSa, so in Montreal last year, they had GSL on like Friday night, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And of course, I wasn't going to watch, otherwise I'd be like, totally screwed over for casting the next day. But apparently MaSa had.
He did, yeah.
And then he tried the exact same build, and I was like, this seems unwise for so many reasons.
If you see something, it's like, oh, that looks cool. Usually you kind of like practice it and try to get it down. And I talked to him after, and he's just like, you know, I saw it in the games. And I'm like, oh, did you like practice it after? He's like, no, I just thought it would be kind of cool to try.
It was,
like, it was the Hyperflight Rotor. You remember when Innovation
the
decided to go for the crazy Banshee build where you actually get Hyperflight first and then into Cloak with massive amounts of Stargates or Starports. Sorry.
There you go. We eventually found it.
Third time's a charm, baby.
Yeah. Well, it's game number 4. In the top right, he's down 1. It is the Red Terran, MaSa.
And once again, in the bottom left-hand corner, 1 win away from solidifying his spot in the finals, it is Neeb.
I was waiting to see that barracks. Looks like there's no SCV out there. There it goes down now. So MaSa potentially just not going to do any proxies
This whole
in
series,
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, obviously Neeb's going to be quite on point about it, on guard, but I feel like there are still some ways.
Some opportunities.
You're like,
even.
yeah, I'm proxying you, but am I going cloaked banshee
Exactly.
somewhere?
Yeah.
Am
Keep
I
him
going
guessing, right?
bugs?
Because if you give Neeb perfect information, he works pretty well with that.
Yeah, he does.
He makes the right judgment calls, and even when he doesn't have perfect information, he kind of like deduces, okay, well, what isn't here? And then he's like, okay, what is your playstyle?
You know, the first game he had perfect scouting, basically with the observer, and then the second
Right.
game he was actually missing because he was so focused on his own DT attack. So that is absolutely correct. He just does kind of perfect things when he knows what's up. But here I talked about MaSa proxying, and it ends up being Neeb proxying, and
Oh my
MaSa
God.
luckily is SCV scouting. I wondered why Neeb looked disappointed when he saw the SCV, and I was like, oh, did he expect MaSa to proxy? And no, I think he was expecting MaSa not to scout.
Okay. Oh,
So-
right.
Might be a little disappointed that was the case, but as we were talking, there was saying that MaSa can make a proxy work after being scouted. I think Neeb can do something, and it was only a proxy gate,
Yeah.
not like a proxy Twilight or Robo or something that was found out and is going to be killed, a very important structure. And to be honest, MaSa just can't really do very much about it at the beginning.
Right.
You're going to send one Marine out there and then hope it
I
doesn't
guess.
die. Yeah.
Can't kill that in time, but I'm wondering what this is going to be. If it's going to actually be like a delayed Nexus.
He's not going to do it.
Oh, he tried though.
Yeah. I think if he really wanted to, he could just wait for the Stalkers.
I know, right?
Oh well, not cheeky enough.
And?
So MaSa does have a command center on the way. He didn't skip that once he saw that it was going to be a proxy, and I'm pretty glad that he didn't. That I think would be too much of an overreaction. So he just gets the bunker on the low ground, and that's nice.
Yeah. And I mean, he started his command center, right? You said? Yeah.
Yeah, high
Neeb
ground.
delayed his in order to make this work out, so he's going to be going for that stalker pressure, but is he actually going to commit to it anymore now that he does see that bunker that is there? Or can he? I don't know if he can do too much.
I don't think he has to. I think
Yeah,
building
at this point.
one soccer at a time and leaving it at the front. Because, you know, Terran doesn't get to push really before factory units at the very least are out. Maybe he pushes the Hellions, and even that's not that useful.
Yeah.
So as long as he considers that it is a one-rax expand, which I think he knows it is, then he doesn't really have to worry.
Yeah, he's chilling. And MaSa did get a chance to scout the proxy, I believe. I don't know if it was intentional. I think he was like following an SCV or something, or a Marine, or I can't remember what he was following. Yeah, probe. Yeah.
He's following a probe.
He's not following his own units.
Yeah. So it's such a weird situation though, because even though Neeb did delay his Nexus and get another structure and another unit, he didn't really want that fast.
Yep.
It's so minimal, and you know, and even by making MaSa take the higher ground to the low ground, that is technically some damage to make up for what he gave up as well.
Yeah.
So, as long as he doesn't take any damage from the Widowmine drop, because that's what it's going to be. Medevac and Widowmine's on the way. That it will just be a weird proxy gateway.
But it's just going to be there basically for the whole game until, of course, I would assume when the medevacs come out, he feels a little bit more confident moving out, but as it stands right now, I didn't see if MaSa was able to get any scan or anything like that. So he doesn't really know what this opener is going to be out of Neeb. You know, like we see that it is going to be a safe robo opener this time, but I mean, for all he knows, it could be an adept all-in just with.
It's true.
He honestly just has to go with his game sense here, play a little bit safer, and just hope for the best and scout with this Widowmine drop. I think it's going to serve two purposes as opposed to just trying to get damage done.
If he really wanted to get a scout faster than the Widowmine drop, he could have made a Reaper, but I think he was trusting that there was an expansion, and that he could just wait for the Widowmine drop.
Right.
Widowmine drop scouts most two base builds. Two base build order builds. There we go.
You know what, yo?
Yeah.
You're catching it from me right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of safe enough. It is going to be a robotics bay, so it's not like a 2-base all-in. It's not that setup of a lot of gateways. It is going to be nice to scout that it's going to be Colossus again.
Yep.
Stalkers are in position. They don't have Blink, but they are already doing so much damage to the medevac.
Oh, yeah, that medevac, definitely the hull damage on it. You have to be very careful here. He might actually just lose it. Nope. Assimilator in the Robo, I think, actually prevented him from getting that medevac, so Widowmine's doing the dance. Up and down.
Up and down, up and down. Okay, that one is going to die. That one just barely has the last shot. It's going to grab some stalker shields as well, but ultimately mostly denied mining.
Yeah. You know, a very short period of time, and that actually allowed MaSa to get out onto the map to kill the gateway. So that's really nice that he's able to get rid of that. Doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And Neeb, he defended that pretty well, right? Like, he lost a few workers, he lost a bit of mining time, And
Yeah.
at least for MaSa, he was able to get that scout too, so, you know, it wasn't a huge investment. Gets the medevac out of there, doesn't lose that either.
It wasn't ideal for Neeb, I would say. I think it was
Yeah.
a bit better for MaSa because he
Right.
did get the medevac out because it was so long in the denial of mining that was
Right.
probably an extra 200, 300 minerals. Something
that he could
pretty
have had.
extreme. Which would have been maybe a faster third base. He was obviously ready to take it with a probe over there for quite some time. Finally gets slapped down. Now MaSa's also going for a third CC, which I'm not sure the observer got in the main to see. I'm rhyming all over the place.
I'm telling you, catching it from me.
And then he scans and won't see the third moving over either. So, I mean, Neeb, luckily not playing super defensive on 2 base, worried he's going to be attacked. The third base is totally called for.
Yep.
Still a
Oh.
little shy in the scouting.
Yeah, the best defense is a good offense, right? So he's just trying to at least put some pressure on while he secures that third base. MaSa is in a pretty decent spot here with the tank shelling away. One of those stalkers getting awfully low, but I feel like it's just there to kind of like be a threat. But I don't know. I don't think MaSa is that afraid of this just yet. When his stim finishes, he will be able to chase it back. I don't believe he got concussive shell either, so the blink is going to be really vital in getting at least the majority of these stalkers away scot-free. Oh, not scot-free.
So-
I mean, he did lose a lot of shield.
I was looking at the upgrades because he went for Colossus, and then he didn't go for more Colossus. And this is, I don't know, pretty old school, like one Colossus fake, right?
And yeah, and starting immortal production straight up.
Yeah, and
Or
instead
sometimes people are going to like Templar, right? Like right after, but
yeah, so you're expecting Colossus and Blink Stalkers, and Neeb is doing the opposite. He's going for Immortals and Charge.
and charge lot.
Yeah, so
And we're
these
seeing
Vikings, yeah, this is such like a Wings of Liberty thing, man.
Yeah.
These Vikings are not going to be that useful. They are more useful
Than they
because you
were.
can land them and they
Yep.
do extra damage versus mechanical, but this is going to be perhaps a shock because MaSa did scout the Colossus intent, did he? I'm not even sure. Is this like reading too much into it and he didn't even see anything?
No, well, I
didn't
mean,
even
he
see
saw it
anything.
really early, right? So
He did see the robotics.
yeah. And this
Okay,
is the
good.
first time, of course, that he's responding with the Vikings early on instead
Yeah.
of the Ghost, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, how he's gonna feel after this game. But you know what? It still could work out for him if he doesn't go too ham on the Vikings here. You're still going to be able to take out the Colossi pretty quick, and that's always good. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, they're pretty useless.
The other old school thing here is that he went for one forge and is getting armor only.
Oh, yeah.
So used to seeing
With
attack
the
upgrades
Zealot, yeah,
or definitely
with the
double
back end,
forge.
yeah.
Yep. This is going to be a bit of a surprise. The Colossus.
Yeah, we got this, dude!
No, not so much. Not so much. The one Colossus, there could be a Colossus in the main defending against what he was hoping was a drop or something. So that wasn't really a scout on what the
No.
true composition is. And this is worrisome.
gonna throw him
MaSa
off.
is continuing to make Vikings.
Yep. I mean, he only saw one there, as you said, and it's like, I don't know. If he continues to do this, it's like, at least if you get Liberators, you can go and utilize them in a better way than Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, you can harass with them. Sure, you can harass with Vikings, and they do actual extra damage versus probes, but...
So I think this is the confirmation that this is the army that's been like hidden
Yes.
away in the main or something like that. So he sees nothing, like really nothing but charge lots. Is going into nothing but Liberator production, but force fields are pretty darn
Oh my
good.
God, yeah.
Blink is not available, so that pickup was perfect.
That was sick. And he wasn't even able to use his tanks there. He is landing the Vikings, though, and they are going to assist here. Archons are coming from the south. There are 4 of them there. Oh, this is scary, His army value is a lot better, but it just looks like, what, is the quality of the army of Neeb just that
Certainly.
much better, right?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the case. But the tanks were a little annoying. They are going to get into a more accessible spot for Neeb, but he's been out. Now he's being pushed back into his third.
Yep. he
The
needs to.
Liberators coming out here are going to be such powerful siege units.
Yeah, but the the Zealots, we saw that Warp Prism warping in the Zealots here, so this is going to at least distract MaSa, not allowing him to advance and push his, at least attentively as he would like to. But I'm a little bit worried about how he defends against those Zealots. God, the force fields from Neeb have been so good.
Yeah, but I'm worried about these Liberators. I mean, despite committing so much to the Vikings, he immediately, as soon as he was like, wait a second, went into Liberator production, 2, and then now nothing but Liberators. And it's working out so well. Neeb has nothing here. He has no bag attack. He has no stalkers to blink on top of them. He's just bleeding out units. And he's just desperately trying to counter. That's his plan here to deal with the army at the front.
Yeah, he warps in a whole round here inside of the natural of MaSa, but the fact that he did switch into those Liberators, and Neeb doesn't have Blink, remember that. So, I mean, he's never ever going to be able to get into a position to efficiently trade against Liberators unless, like, he gets a flank. But the Zealots are doing really, really good. You definitely have to give credit where
Yes.
credit's due.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, he's dealt so much economic damage that he can give up his third base without feeling too salty about it.
Yeah.
But he did lose so many units before he decided to give up that base that I think that it's still okay for MaSa. But he's still not cleaning this up, so
he
maybe
needs to clean it
not.
up. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He's trying to rely on one Liberator, and he's lost 31 workers during all of this. And even though you look at the supply, MaSa is not really doing any pressure right now anymore. It's not like he's continuing to push into the natural. Like, he's basically just taking losses and not giving anything back over here.
And he didn't realize that Neeb took a fourth base. So when he saw that recall, he assumed it was the main or something like that. But it's just continued mining. It's so perfect for Neeb. He also has continued getting the upgrade lead, so he's at 2-1 over 1-1.
Yep.
So that army supply difference, really, you have to take it with a grain of salt, but up by 40 or 50 at some given times, that is, especially if it's all sieged.
Yeah.
I still would give that to MaSa. It's like a real question
But he needs to
mark
be like
now.
utilizing it now, right? Because if he's taking all this damage, you would expect him to at least have been continuing into the natural, maybe checking it, but you know, kind of going back and after the fact, everything is pretty much dead. He's down to 39 workers. He's in a rough spot. He has a really sick Liberator count, and Blink is only about halfway done, as long as he doesn't overextend and try to siege up those Liberators before the rest of the army is there.
10 Liberators, though. That's the count we were like, well, hopefully I'm on my way to Tempests.
Right.
Because otherwise you're just hoping to catch them out of position and pick them off one at a time. Even if you have Stalkers, a lot of Stalkers with Blink, and he also is missing what usually is +2 or +3 attack, instead went to the armor first and foremost. So the Stalkers really aren't as impressive as they've come to be.
They don't have that +2 attack, as you were saying. Like, he focused on the armor first, as he was working off of one Forge. Now, another counterattack attempt out of Neeb is going to be able to take out a few of the units that were here. There's no medevac to heal them down, or heal them up.
It's an extra tank shot because he didn't quite grab that Liberator. He might, I don't know if he can give up his natural, because of course this is starting to access his technology and his production, but I wonder if he's going to have to.
I mean,
so many Liberators.
how is he going to deal with the Liberators at this point? Blink is done, remember, and he's
Alright.
going to blink on in. Does he have enough?
Alright, the tank was in siege, 3 Liberators weren't siege, just wasn't the maximum damage from MaSa, and it is going to be able to clean it up. The Liberators took out so much when they finally sieged.
Yeah.
But that was the opportunity. He's left with a lot more army than MaSa was on the front lines, but MaSa had a lot rallied, of course, back at home.
Yeah, and Neeb has done something really nice here, just giving himself breathing room. He doesn't have to worry about being in a chokehold anymore. It's not do or die because he does have the other bases on the other side, like on the left side. So giving himself that breathing room means that he is going to have a superior economy. Those weapons are going to start adding up over time. And even the damage that he's been doing to MaSa, just with the Zealot run-bys, definitely paying off. And even if they're not as efficient as he would like them to be, I mean, they have been efficient, but even if they weren't, then I think it still wouldn't matter because of the fact that he's on the 4 bases as opposed to only the 3 that MaSa has. He must be fully mined out. I think he even floated his main command center, by the way. But
Yep, he did.
So, yep. It's not a true 3-base economy, and this is MaSa basically in the do-or-die mode. Hasn't
wonder-
continued his upgrades. He's only just now getting the armory.
Right, that too. I wonder if MaSa just is really, like, he's like, well, how is that army so big?
Right.
Like, at what point does he realize you must have had a 4th base
The
this
whole
entire
time.
time? Because if he doesn't, he just is under severe misconceptions and will definitely be losing this game. I mean, even if he knew the 4th base was there, I'm not sure he could do very much about it. He finally lifts and will hopefully pass by the 4th, but even if he gets the 3rd, that'll be okay too. Maybe setting up a surround instead?
Oh, man.
Huh, just unloading there is a little odd looking. Okay, picks up again and messes up the pickup so 4 Marauders left over.
He's like, yo, what about me? Like, but Neeb is pushing on in. Gonna be able to take it out. Does he take out the command center? Oh, it's so low.
Yeah, he is. He accidentally cracked one of his own force fields, but doesn't matter. Liberators are a little awkward to get to, but a blink upon them. No Wintermine in position to help with that. And
Wow.
MaSa has so much army supply that's finally going to find a 4th base that is pretty mined out.
Yeah.
It's going to turn into a base trade, I suppose.
Hey, I guess that's what you got to do here if you're MaSa, but the fact that he discovers it and he sees how mined out it is, it's like, oh, come on. Like, you're thinking in your head, like, this is for real. And now he knows exactly why that army was so big. And he does end up losing his command center. This is the last one that he has. He cannot lose his command center here because I don't even think he has enough money to build another one. But he realizes it's too much of an army to overcome and calls out the GG. Neeb is going to be the first man in the grand finals.
Yeah. Really close game, though, at the end there.
It really was, yeah. I think MaSa was